Hey everyone, I've seen a lot of videos on TikTok of young ladies, mainly ladies, besides the whole Luke, what's his face, doesn't matter. I've seen a lot of young ladies talk about how they got an agent with their book, or they got a 2-book deal with this publisher, blah, 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 blah. Look, it's not that easy. I don't watch the videos in full. I don't know how long they've been subbing to agents and publishers. A lot of publishers won't take agented books. Trying to find an agent is as hard as trying to find a publisher. So if you are lucky enough to get an agent, that doesn't automatically qualify you for being published, because the agent then has to sell your book to publishers. Now, if you're an influencer like Luke Bateman, then yeah, of course they're all going to jump at it because they think they can make money out of you. But I'm not getting into that. The thing is that, you know, it can take you years to get an agent, and that agent can spend years trying to get your book into a publisher and get bought by a publisher. The other problem is, besides the fact that may not happen, the other problem is they're talking about how they got a 2 or 3 book deal. I've read a lot of books and stories and essays by writers who had 2 and 3 book deals, and most of it didn't work. What I mean by that is they've said, oh, my first book was published and it either sold well and then the second one was released, or it didn't sell well and so the second one wasn't released. And this is something that these authors may not even realise could happen down the track. You know, if their first book sells really well, but then their second one doesn't, the third's not getting released if it's a 3-book deal. If the first one doesn't sell really well, the second book, if it's a 2-book deal, may not get released. And on top of that, I remember this one story by this one author. She was living in New York, thought she was going to have this great, amazing life now. She had a 3-book deal, this, that, the other. First book sold, second didn't. She had to pay back her advance for the third. So I'm just saying this as a warning to all the newbie wannabe authors who think getting a publishing deal and an agent is so simple. It's not. Because you need to make sure that your book is polished and what they are looking for, whether you're submitting to publishers or agents. You will be lucky if an agent picks you up. You will then be extremely lucky if that agent can get you to a publisher and get a publisher to buy your book. Because, you know, for normal people that aren't influencers and don't work at publishing houses who get the book deal, AJ Finn, I'm looking at you, sleazebag, then it's going to be hard. So you need to be aware that agents are hard to get and them selling your books will be hard. You know, not everyone manages to get it within a couple of months or a year or two. For some people, it can actually take years, if not a decade. I've seen, oh God, in one of the Facebook groups I'm in, there was a lady that said, I've just published my book. It's been 8 long years of trying to get an agent and get a book, but a publishing deal and this, that. And I'm like, why did you wait 8 years? That's what they wanted, though. They wanted to get it traditionally published. So it took her 8 years to do so. So if you're prepared to wait that long, then try getting an agent and try doing the, you know, trad route. There are certain publishing houses that do take submissions, though. Here in Australia, they may do it on a Monday or they may do it on a Friday, where you send off the ebook or the first 3 chapters as a Word doc. But let me tell you, the slush pile, most of it goes in the bin. So you'll be lucky if you get picked up. That's why you need to polish your book before you send it. But just remember, you know, if you desperately want to do this, it's going to be a hard slog. And however many stories you hear of people going, oh, I got a 2-book deal and I got a 3-book deal, does not mean at the back end, when those books are actually published, that they will sell. Because over 90% don't actually sell any more than 1,000 copies. That all came out in the Department of Justice lawsuit against Penguin Random House a couple of years back when they were trying to buy Simon & Schuster. Most books just don't sell. Not even authors who have won awards. You know, here in Australia, people have won the Miles Franklin Awards, but it didn't sell any books for them. You know, so please, if you're just starting out and you've written a book and you want to try and get it traditionally published and you want to try and find an agent, be prepared for the slog and the wait. And I really hope you don't give up on the idea of self-publishing because of it. Because that is an alternative route that has been around for centuries. You know, Jackie Collins was self-publishing before she passed away. You know, Stephen King's done it. You know, a lot of them have done it. You know, over the years, it didn't stop them because it's the alternative route to the big trad houses not picking us up. And you also have to remember that trad houses keep going out of business and keep being bought up by the bigger ones. So please, if you know you're seeing all these videos of all these authors going, I got a 2-book deal and a 3-book deal, wait for the back end. Wait for them to be published to see whether they even come out and what happens then. You know, for their sake, I hope those books sell and I hope they do well. But it doesn't always work that way for authors who get traditional deals. So please, understand it's going to be a hard slog getting an agent or a publisher. So beware of that.